in the environment. So as many of you know, and probably you are close to nature conservation, birds conservation, you already know that the illegal use of poisoning in the wild, it's an illegal act, basically is forbidden in the whole Europe. Practically since the 1983 to 1985, when most of the countries from Europe signed the CMS Convention or the Berne Convention, they actually adopted national legislation under which the use of poison substances to kill wildlife is forbidden. So you can see that 40 years ago. Yes. Okay, please, guys, can you please silence the microphone and raise the hand whenever you want to share some comment or question? Because it might be difficult to understand each other as we are quite a large number of people. So I was talking about the poisoning. It's been more than 40 years that this illegal act is forbidden in the European countries, and unfortunately still happening. And one of the reasons why we are organizing this webinar in spring is basically because this is the high peak of poisoning incidents in the wild. We had recently important incidents that we will talk about them that happened in Greece and Bulgaria. But basically, this is not only about Greece and Bulgaria, because recently, a few weeks ago, we had an important poisoning incident of several wolves that were poisoned in the Apennines in Italy. And it's not only Italy, and it's not only the Mediterranean. There is records of wildlife poisoning all across Europe. Wherever you have agricultural activities, wherever you have hunting activities, wherever you have a small or a big predators, you have the practice of poisoning wildlife. So we already clarified that this is an illegal act, but we also I want to highlight that this is something that is happening all across Europe. I cannot find any countries where we can say that we are sure that there is no wildlife poisoning. Basically, the only countries that have no records of wildlife poisoning are countries that have never searched or worked on wildlife poisoning. So I don't try to sound just dramatic about this phenomenon happening in the environment. I would like that everybody is clear that dealing with wildlife poisoning, it means using extremely dangerous poison substances, that most of them are illegal. So normally are carbamides, but not only. So there is a different kind of poison substances that are used in Europe and across the globe. And since the 80s, most of these substances, probably the most dangerous one, are forbidden. So then we are talking about dangerous poisoning substances for human health. And we are talking about as well as another crime, which is the illegal trade of poisoning substances. So you can see that this is not only an issue that is affecting biodiversity or birds. Can you please silence microphones? Okay, thank you. So basically, we are here to talk about poisoning of vultures. Specifically, we are here to talk about specifically, but this is really affecting all the biodiversity. Whenever I talk about poisoning, the best way to explain about how poisoning is acting in the environment is comparing it to a disease. So whenever you place the poison bait in the environment, it's actually like placing an infectious disease, because you are not getting only a first level of victims. You have a secondary, tertiary. All the animals that are poisoned are becoming poison baits. And for some of the poison substances, this can last for several times. Many of the dead animals which were poisoned are actually becoming even more toxic than the poison substance itself, because some of the metabolic processes, when these substances are ingested, the metabolites of these substances are becoming even more dangerous. And this is not only dangerous for biodiversity, it's dangerous for human health. The same poison substances that are used to kill wildlife are the same similar poison substances that are used for terrorist attacks. So I would say that not only talking about nature conservation or biodiversity conservation, This is a huge scandal at European level, because can you imagine that in most of the European countries, you can find poison substances that only with 5 grams of quantity, you can kill about 20 people. And these kind of substances are widely used absolutely everywhere. You know, these substances, particularly, I would like to highlight the strychnine that was used particularly in Eastern and Southern Europe in the period of after the Second World War, starting from the 50s, 60s, 70s, by the 80s. It was widely used for this industrialization period and developing a good ground for agricultural activities. On the western side of Europe, strychnine was used, but not that much. It was another a carbamide, which is called aldicarb, that was with a similar effect. But particularly these two poison substances have, talking about the Balkan Peninsula, are probably the main reasons why we lost Cinereous vulture, bearded vulture, dramatically reduced the Egyptian vulture population. Griffon vultures were extinct in some of the Balkan countries as well. So particularly talking about Griffon vultures, it's a species that when it's well distributed and when you have dense population of Griffon vultures, it's not an easy species to extinct. So this means that along this period of about 20, 30 years, there was a strong effort of systematically poisoning mostly wolves and jackals. And it was used also by the governmental institution. And this systematical use actually produced the vulture extinction in most of the countries from the Balkan Peninsula, but not only from the Balkan Peninsula. I really want to highlight that this is not a practice that was happening only in the Balkan region, but is happening absolutely in the whole European territory. But very common, particularly common for the Mediterranean region, because as you know, that small and large predators are more present in the southern part of Europe. I think that we do have a presentation from my colleague Uroš Pantovic. So he's working on the poisoning for 7-8 years, particularly focusing on the Balkan region. And I do believe that is very much relevant. There were several projects implemented tackling the poisoning issues in the Balkan regions. And thanks to this effort, particularly the Balkan Detox Life project, but not only, there is several, I think there was 8, 9 life projects that were implemented by the different partners from the Balkan region that were actually targeting the wildlife poisoning. And I have to say that we have impressive amount of data collected in the last 10 years, particularly, or 20 years from the Balkan Peninsula. And we do have concrete figures on what kind of poisoning and how this practice was distributed and used in the different countries, and a pretty good estimate on how many vultures in this case we have lost due to this practice. So Nelly, can I kindly ask you to broadcast the presentation of Uroš, focusing on the wildlife poisoning, particularly in the Balkan region?
Yes, sure.
While we are launching the presentation, if anyone have something to raise or a short comment to make, please feel free to do it.
Can you see the presentation?
Not yet. Did you manage to download it?
Yeah, I did.
Maybe if we have some difficulties, maybe we can do this presentation on the end. I would kindly ask Sylvia and Dobry if they are available to start with their presentation.
Yeah, of course, we can switch.
Yeah, sure.
Sylvia, would you like to start?
Yes, no problem.
All right.
Excellent. Thank you, Sylvia.
You're welcome. Just give me a second to share. Okay, so do you see my screen?
No, we only see your camera.
Okay, great. So I seem to have the same problem as Nelly because I started sharing.
We might need some permits from Zoom. Oh, no, we can see it now.
Okay, so I'm not sure what you will be able to see when I go full screen. Ah, okay, great. So you see the presentation now?
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
There is a target banner on the top of the presentation. I don't know what's that.
I don't know how to get rid of that.
Okay.
It's gone. Well, anyway.
Okay.
So I'm going to go briefly through some recent poisoning incidents in Greece. My name is Sylvia Zakak. I'm working for the Natural Environment and Climate Change Agency in Greece. Just a short introduction of NECA. It's a central level authority of the National System of Governance of Protected Areas in Greece. Its main work includes the implementation of national policies set by the Ministry of Environment for the management of protected areas in Greece, biodiversity conservation, promotion and implementation of sustainable development actions, and climate change mitigation. NECA is practically responsible for all Natura 2000 sites in Greece. It is divided in 24 management units, covering all Natura 2000 sites, and each management unit is responsible for a particular area. In 2022, NECA established an anti-poison task force, which is practically responsible for coordinating and supervising all actions of NECA related to illegal poisoning. So during the last 4 months, since January 2026, we have recorded 17 incidents of wildlife poisoning, not wildlife poisoning exactly, it was a use, in some cases, use of poison baits without poisoned animals, but still it was illegal use of poison baits targeting wildlife. We located those incidents through information we gained through by local authorities and transmitters that some of protected bird species are carrying on them. And in the investigation of those incidents, a lot of different authorities and stakeholders were involved. In all of those, NECA was involved, and this is why we have this information we are presenting it here. The Forestry Service was also involved, the Veterinary Service, and in some cases, hunting associations, the municipalities, local municipalities, and the police. What is very interesting is that in 6 out of these 17 cases, we found cyanides. Cyanide is a poison, totally banned, and it's still out there and it's still being used. All of the incidents are under investigation, so we don't know the substances that were used in the incidents, but through previous experience, the most common substances are illegal pesticides and insecticides that are banned in the EU, but are still illegally imported, and like methobil and carbofuran. I will showcase 4 of these incidents, the most important ones, and I will tell you why they are very important. The first is, and one of the latest, was one in the Peloponnese, where we located 95 poison baits with the help of one anti-poison canine unit. And what is really important to highlight here is that without the help of this anti-poison canine unit, we wouldn't be able to find all those baits because they were very, very small and very scattered all over the place. So 95 baits in the Peloponnese, and a few weeks earlier, 157 poison baits found in northern Pindos, in northern Pindos National Park. we got informed by the locals because they found 4 dead dogs. And what is very important to highlight here is that in those 2 cases, the prompt removal of the poisons from the wildlife deterred the killing of wildlife. We had 4 dogs in this occasion and 1 dog in the Peloponnese, but we didn't have any wild animals killed. And this is because we were very quick, we acted quickly, and we removed the poisons from the nature. Well, this is not always the case. We are not always so lucky, and not all incidents are located so quick. Or in some cases, even though we locate the poison and the incident very quickly, the animals are quicker than us in finding them. So a few weeks earlier, we had a very important incident in the Rhodope Mountains National Park, another national park with another incident, with only a few weeks difference between them. 9 poisoning spots across an area of approximately 3.5 square kilometers. An area of approximately 15 square kilometers was searched, and 33 dead animals were located. One of which was an Egyptian vulture, strictly protected vulture species. We found 1 dead vulture, 2 dead pairs of Mars harriers, 10 dead red foxes, 2 ravens, 1 common buzzard, 3 martens, 2 hedgehogs, 1 jay, and 3 different birds of prey. And among those, we found also 3 dead dogs and 6 goats and sheep that were probably used as the baits. In order to investigate this incident, 5 anti-poison canine units were working in the field for over 12 days. It was a very difficult incident with findings scattered all over the place, and it needed a lot of search to make sure that the area was clean. And last but not least, one of the most announced incidents of the last months was the one in the LIFE23-NAT-BG-LIFE National Park, where 12 Cinereous vultures were found poisoned, and 3 of them were saved due to our prompt veterinary treatment. And this is also a thing to highlight, that when we are quick and we find the animals quick enough, then maybe we have a chance to save some of them. But this is also an incident where, even though we were quick and we detected the incident very fast, still 9 of the Cinereous vulture died, because the vultures are quick, they move all together in groups, they find the bait, they feed on it, and they might die within hours. So in total, we found 29 poisoned animals across an area of approximately 100 square kilometers. It was a huge area that needed to be covered. 4 anti-poison canine units were used in this case. You can see them in the picture. And the area was searched for 10 days until we made sure that it's clean from poisons. In these last 2 incidents, the cooperation of many different stakeholders were very important in the field. There were canine units from NECA, from the SPBT, from the forest, from the hunting associations, so many different people involved in order to search and make sure that the areas are clean, and then follow all the procedures for further investigation of the incidents. And just to have an idea of how bad one single poisoning incident can be, I have here a graph of the population of the Cinereous vulture in the Dadia National Park. It started 30 years ago with 15 to 20, the timeline starts 30 years ago with 15 to 20 pairs. In 30 years, the population has managed to double itself. And within a week, we lost about 10% of the population. One single incident can take us back many, many years of conservation efforts. And well, I would like to close with an optimistic message. This is one of the 3 Cinereous vulture that was treated and was saved by the incident. You can see it after its release, after it became well. And what is also important to mention is that two of those three vultures that we managed to save were incubating. And after release, they went straight to their nests to continue incubations, and the nests were actually saved, which was very good news. So thank you. Dobry?
Nice. Thank you very much, Sylvia, particularly for bringing this light moment in the end of your presentation, but a brilliant amount of work and amazing data coming from Greece. I think that you gave us a practical exam and a real evidence, not only about how problematic poisoning can be, but what are the precise negative effects to wildlife and vultures in particular. Dobry, are you ready to continue? Thank you, Sylvia.
Yes, absolutely. I just need to share my screen. Give me a second, I hope. Okay, here we go. Can you see what's on my screen?
Not yet.
Oh,
yes, now.
Yeah. Okay, fine. All right. So, hello everyone, and welcome to our webinar. It's a really wide topic, so I'm not going to be that much into the details, but I'm going to present you with the latest case we got here in the Eastern Rhodope Mountains in Bulgaria. Just to give you a bit of context before that, I must say that we have started a reintroduction project for the Cinereous Vulture here in the Eastern Rhodope Mountains in Bulgaria in 2021, and actually in 2022 we got the first Cinereous vultures arriving at the release aviary that you see now on your screens. That was in May 2022, and since then we have released already like 40 vultures into the Rhodopian skies, just to reinforce the Greek autochthonous populations, but also to hopefully bring the species back as a breeder in the Bulgarian part of the mountain. This is how the normal transport looks like. I'm just giving you the context just to introduce you to the last case, because it is very much connected to what you're going to see here on these slides. The bird that I'm going to talk about is actually a wild bird that we could capture in this facility that you saw on the slides. Never mind, going back to the slides and to the presentation, I must also say that we have initiated our work on the anti-poisoning dog unit and actually created the first one in Bulgaria in 2016 in the frame of another LIFE project that was executed by the Bulgarian Society for the Protection of Birds and its partners from Rewilding Rhodopes Foundation and Rewilding Europe. And this is since 2016. And on the map on the down right-handed corner of the screen, you can see where we're concentrating and focusing our work in the area. You see that we are also working besides the Eastern Rhodopes in the southeast of Bulgaria, which includes the Kar Mountains and Stranja Mountains. And going straight to the story, I'm going to explain you a bit more about it, because this is, I would say, not connected, but it happened during the case that Sylvia already explained, when they had this massive poisoning in Dadia. And unfortunately, at the same time, we had another one case here in Bulgaria. But to give you an idea, this is a very interesting story of this young bird that you see here. It is wing tagged with C0, and this bird is actually a wild one that we could capture along the release aviary that you saw in the summer of 2020. And actually this is something unusual, because you can normally not capture a wild bird unless it is probably injured or there is something wrong going wrong with it. And particularly with this bird, after the vet exam, we knew that the bird had some problems with the flight, and there were some problems with the caps. So the bird needed to stay for a few months in our aviaries just to be rehabilitated. It was on a special treatment the first day, so that it can recover, because the bird lost a lot of weight. Actually, it weighed a bit more than 4 kilos, which is really not much for a vulture, for a Cinereous vulture. And after a long period of rehabilitation, we marked the bird in November previous year and could successfully release the bird in January 2026. The bird gained weight, it flew straight out of the aviary, and it was behaving quite good. And then we started following. Actually, the transmitter is property of the Dea National Park, so we could follow and trace the behavior and actually the movement of the birds until the very last moment we got, which happened actually right here. Somewhere in the second decade of March, the bird entered in the Bulgarian part of the mountain and actually headed straight to a point that is very close to the Bulgarian-Greek border. And it obviously started feeding on a carcass that was in the wild. 2 days later, we received a signal from our colleagues from Greece that there is something wrong with the bird and actually it is not moving. And the first locations we could check were actually the ones where the bird fed, not the bird fed, but where we got the last locations from the bird. And actually, this was a very strange case because we found the bird actually floating in the river. When the colleagues took out the bird of the water, they could find that actually there is a stone that is entangled for the leg of the bird. And we exactly knew that there is something wrong there, so we could immediately rush to check the last feeding position of the bird. And when we got there, actually, we found out that there is a crystal substance that was spread all around the area. And of course, we already knew that this is something wrong and there is a poison actually involved. So we signaled the authorities immediately. The authorities came to the spot. They searched the area quite carefully. They were very responsive actually, and they put a lot of attention to the case. So they collected a lot of evidences in this case and also could, of course, take all the needed samples around just to make sure that the procedure is correctly executed. So now we are actually waiting to find out more what's going on with the with the police investigation and if they have collected enough evidences to put that to the prosecutor. At this moment, we don't have much information about that because it is still under investigation, but we are waiting forward to find out more and whether they're going to find the perpetrator. We hope so, because there are a lot of evidences. Actually, there is not really much inhabited, so there are like few people living around. Fortunately, there are few cameras on the road, tow cameras, which are also helpful in this situation because there is not a lot of traffic. So we're really eager to find out whether they're going to reveal this case or not. And if that happens, this is going to be the first one ever that has been revealed in Bulgaria. So we really hope that they're going to find the perpetrator. I cannot tell more about that because, as I mentioned, it is already like under investigation, so we're not able or we're not allowed to spread any additional information on the case. It was just an interesting story because you can see that a bird that was once saved and after a lot of months of care and maintenance, it just died in few minutes. And this is really tricky and actually showing how sensitive these species are to poisons use, and because of their biology and ecology and ability to find carcasses in the wilderness, they're really susceptible to these poisoning substances that can be spread in the environment. So this is a huge threat to not only the Cinereous vultures, but all the vulture species in general. And this is the point where I'm actually going to end up. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dobry. Very nice overview of the conservation, but also activities that are highlighting this serious threat to vultures and whole biodiversity.
I was really rushing just to give more time for the rest of the people, just because the time is like ticking too fast.
Thank you so much. I was doubting, should we try with the first presentation on the Balkan poisoning study, or should we continue with Elisabetta? Ela, are you ready to do your presentation?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Brilliant. So
Okay,
let's see about hear about your intensive anti-poisoning work.
So, can you see my screen?
Yes, just a full screen, please.
Okay, wait. Okay, so good afternoon to all of you. So I will try to briefly talk about how anti-poison dog units work and why they are so important in the fight against wildlife poisoning. So anti-poison dog units are specialized teams of trained dogs and handlers to detect illegal poison baits. Their main goal is to prevent, detect, and remove poison baits and animals from countryside, and they contribute significantly to protection of biodiversity, particularly vultures, but also other large birds of prey, large predators, and of course, domestic animals by preventing poisoning incidents. So how the dogs work? When they work, they use their powerful sense of smell to detect poison bait, poison animals, and hidden toxins. Of course, without touching them, or even more, without ingesting them. So, in simple words, when they seek for a small poison bait as a small meatball, it's literally like finding a needle in a haystack. And when they work, they try to identify the direction of scent source by comparing its intensity. But before they start their work, dogs and handlers, they need to pass very demanding training. Dogs, of course, on detecting of all these poison baits laced with toxins and poisoned animals. And of course, handlers, they need to know how to handle the dogs, how to collect evidence, and of course, how to be safe in the work, because safety is very crucial in their work as they are around all these lethal substances. And when they work, when they are in the field, they patrol high-risk hotspots areas, or they respond very quickly to any new poisoning incidents reported by their networks. The handler decides the area of the survey, but then the dog decides the route of the survey. And of course, at the end, the handler evaluates the findings. Sorry. So, as you have already understood, the problem of illegal poison use is very complex, but the dog units have very significant impact in the fight against this illegal practice. First of all, they protect all these endangered species, as you can understand, vultures particularly. They contribute to prevention of ecosystem damages. They stop poisoning events very quickly, sometimes. Of course, while removing all these toxic carcasses from the countryside, they reduce the secondary poisoning. And when they work and they detect all these poison baits and animals, they highlight the use of illegal poison baits, because as more you look, the more you find. And of course, they provide critical evidence that helps investigate and prosecute this wildlife crime. Wait. Sorry. So the story of the anti-poison dog units in the Balkans and in Greece has started in 2014, when two handlers of WWF and Hellenic Ornithological Society and their two dogs were trained in Spain in the frame of one Egyptian vulture life project. and their work was very efficient. They highlight very quickly this complex issue of poison baits used in the countryside. And as the result of their work, now in 2026, we have 19 different anti-poison dog units across whole country. And the success story is that from private organization that were operating dog units now very actively is involved a public authority, NECA, with their 6 anti-poison dog units. So to conclude, yes, the units play a crucial role in protecting wildlife. Every year, hundreds of poison baits and poison animals are removed from the countryside. You could hear before the presentation of Sylvia when she mentioned like around 300 poison baits were removed only in first 4 months of this year. Yes, they are a very important tool in the fight against poison baits, but only one part of the broader wildlife protection response system. They are not gonna solve this problem. There is a huge need of greater involvement of governmental authorities for proper investigation of incidents, because there are very few cases that end up in the court. So our ultimate goal is not only the detection of poison baits and highlighting the problem. Our ultimate goal is to bring offenders to the court and to justice. So it was very quick. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Ella. It was quick but very informative, and particularly thank you for the final words and conclusions. I fully agree with you, and I think that you are bringing a few things that can be discussed afterwards. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I would like to ask Nelly if we have the first presentation available. Should we try again?
Yes, let's try once again. I also asked Dobry to try.
Yes.
Can you see it?
Yes, yeah, I can. I think that
Okay.
just
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, so I think we can start with the presentation.
I think Uroš is talking, but I'm not sure if we can see the sound. Do you have any way to turn on the sound?
That's maximum.
Okay.
Which ended just 1 week ago. And within this project, we endeavored to analyze the occurrence of wildlife poisoning during this 5-year period that the project lasted. This was a huge collaborative effort of all project partners, but also numerous other stakeholders. Within this 5-year period, a total of 6 wildlife poisoning events have been reported to the relevant authorities or national NGOs and documented during the last 5 years. When we say wildlife poisoning event, we refer to confirmed and presumable poisoning incidents, which had at least one wildlife species reported as a casualty. During this period, and within the Balkan Detox Life project, we worked in Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Bulgaria, Greece, North Macedonia, and Serbia. And within this period, these 206 wildlife poisoning events, more than half of them were recorded in Greece, and a quarter of them were recorded in Serbia. 5% of the incidents were recorded in Bulgaria, 3% in Croatia, and only 1 poisoning incident was recorded in Bosnia and Herzegovina. While in Albania and North Macedonia, we had no official records of wildlife poisoning events being documented or reported to the relevant national authorities. Firstly, let's check the drivers of behind the use of poison baits. So within this 5-year period, almost 60% of all documented incidents, the motives behind them are unknown. However, from those better documented ones, we can clearly see that the main motive behind the use of poison baits in the Balkans continues to be various conflicts with predators and losses that they inflict either on livestock or on game animals or any kind of agricultural production. After conflicts with predators, conflicts with hunting dogs or local disputes is also a motive which has been frequently documented, mostly in Greece, but also in some other countries. And also conflicts with birds of prey, which is a motive mostly reported in Serbia, but also sporadically in Bulgaria and other countries. A total of 30 species of birds were documented as casualties in presumable and confirmed poisoning incidents. Most commonly recorded species and affected is the common buzzard. But you can see after the common buzzard, marsh harrier, wild-tailed eagle, and griffon vulture were the most common victims. I have excluded here 2 pieces of information. Actually, 2 species, brook and jackdaw, simply because these huge numbers relate to only several poisoning incidents, and I didn't want to mess the graph to include them. But these high numbers of brooks and jackdaws, they all refer mostly to one single poisoning incident in Serbia, where nearly 1,000 birds were poisoned by zinc phosphide. Regarding mammal species, a total of 10 species of mammals were recorded as casualties of poisoning during this period. Most commonly recorded species was the beech marten, but mostly affected species, as you can see, is the golden jackal, which is one of the most common let's say drivers for poison use, conflicts with jackals, whose numbers are increasing not just in the Balkan Peninsula, but pretty much throughout all of Europe. When we talk about vulture poisoning events, unfortunately during this period there were several poisoning events involving vultures recorded, and you can see that the griffon vulture was mostly affected. So 22 individuals were recorded poisoned or presumably poisoned within 13 separate incidents, but also quite a high number of Cinereous vultures, 12 Cinereous vultures within 8 poisoning incidents, and also 2 Egyptian vultures recorded as presumable poisoning victims in Bulgaria within this research period. An important aspect of wildlife poisoning is collaboration with relevant law enforcement authorities, and their performance is crucial. Their performance in the field is crucial for combating this environmental threat. So within this project, we also try to analyze the performance of these important national stakeholders in reference to investigation of poisoning incidents. And happy to say that there is a clear positive trend in terms of engagement and performance of the relevant law enforcement authorities in the Balkan countries. And there's an increase, there's a positive trend of the incidents which are reported to the authorities, but also, more importantly, the percentage of incidents for which the authorities responded with either field inspections, launched official investigations, and more importantly, the percentage of official investigations which were completed has also been increasing during the implementation of this project, or during these 5 years. Finally, if we look at the average, if we compare the average number of poisoning events which were annually recorded during the last 5 years and compare it to the baseline period, we can see that there was a 70% decrease in the average number of recorded poisoning events annually compared to the baseline. However, if you look at the graph more closely, we can see that during the last 2 years, the occurrence of wildlife poisoning has significantly increased, and in fact, in the last year, it has equaled to the baseline period. So, unfortunately, this problem is ever persisting in the Balkan Peninsula, and it's also affecting numerous species. Vultures, in particular, were also affected, especially during the last 2 years. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to analyze the situation in all the different countries, but all of this information will be disseminated probably within the next 2 weeks in the study about wildlife poisoning, which is one of the final outputs of the Balkan Detox Life project, to which I believe most of you contributed to. Thank you again for the time and for the opportunity to present. I'm sorry that I'm not able to answer any questions that you might have, but please feel free to contact me if you have any questions, or if you want any kind of additional information. But like I said, all of this will be disseminated within the next couple of weeks in the poisoning study that we are. Thank you again, and wish you a successful webinar.
Okay, thank you very much, Uroš. I thought it was important that we actually get a specific overview of this problem across the Balkan region. So a pity that it was not able to, because this presentation was foreseen to be at the beginning, setting the scene, but it also shows additional efforts to fight wildlife poisoning in the region. We already saw several presentations focusing on particularly that, what kind of effort have been invested in wildlife poisoning. And now we have one last talk by Dimitris and Panayotis from the Greek Forestry Service. Dimitris, Panayotis, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
Okay, please. Can you share your screen?
Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can see. Brilliant.
Okay, I'm going to talk to you about the best practices that the National Forest Service has adopted the last year, and also I'll talk about strategies that involves local hunting communities. The Greek Forestry Service is a law enforcement entity that has local units all over the Greece. In the framework of the LIFE Rhodope Vulture project, the Forestry Service of Didymotiko and Stavroupoli, they have started and they have conducted the last year more than 250 anti-poison and anti-poaching patrols. And some dozens of them, they are in collaboration with SPDT, with the Canine team. These patrols are proactive patrols without any incidents. And during their implementation, we contact people, we exchange information, and of course, we inform them about the illegal practice, and that is forbidden to use poison baits in the nature. Again, in this framework of prevent direct mortality, We, in partnership with two local hunting clubs, the hunting club of Aristiada and Stavroupoli, two anti-poison dog units, they have been created. This action started last year in spring 25. The dogs were bought and were trained together with their handlers in Kinagon Training Center. And here we can see Anka, baby that period with her handler. These two anti-poison dog units and their handlers they have been trained to search warehouses, pens, barns, and cars, as well as personal belongings, except the very useful tactic of collecting the poison baits in the nature. The anti-poison dog units, they have handlers that they are law enforcement officers, that they have taken an official vow, and they are not only just collecting the samples, but they are also they have the ability to investigate the clues and also to sue the preparator. Yeah, the poison dog units are fully operational, as you have already understood. They have taken, they have participated in these two very catastrophic events in Dadia National Park and Livaditis area, and they have supported the teamwork of the rest canine teams. Again, trying to prevent direct mortality with our LIFE Rhodope Vulture project, we want to strengthen the authorities. So law enforcement officers from the Greek Forestry Service, they have participated in the Wildlife Crime Academy in level 1 and level 2 till now, and they have been educated. Hopefully, I am one of them, and I have to thank Jovan for giving us this opportunity. It's a very great opportunity because we are planning the next year to spread this knowledge among colleagues in the Forestry Service and other authorities. Moreover, trying to decrease the conflict and reduce this way the poisoning. In the framework of this project, the hunting clubs are going to buy, which is partners in our projects, they are going to buy 40 wolf-proof hunting dog vests. And these dog vests will be distributed to their members and will be evaluated for their effectiveness by Callisto. We developed the hunting clubs. They developed a prototype that I hope you can see. I am pointing it with my mouse. And this prototype has incorporated the knowledge of the knowledge of the hunters. They have, for the moment, tested in small scale, but as soon as will be distributed to the hunting club members, will be evaluated and tested on a larger scale. There are some major differences between this prototype and older versions of the dog vests. This prototype has been presented in the National Hunting Club exhibition in Athens. And hunters from all over the Greece, they had the opportunity to see this prototype and get familiar with its use and its innovations. One more action that the hunting clubs is going to implement in collaboration with the Forestry Service the next years is the distribution of 40 sets of electro fences. to the land users like shepherds, beekeepers, and farmers, in order to mitigate the damages that is caused either by horses in the area of Stavroupoli or by other wildlife species. Moreover, trying to decrease the lead intoxication, more than 250 cartridges are going to be distributed by the hunting clubs to their members the next years. And we hope that this way, let's say, new type of ammunition will be adopted widely by the hunting societies. The picture is through AI. Yeah? It's not a real picture. It's an action that is going to be done in the future. Going to the incident of Livaditis area, just to mention that it is in an isolated and depopulated area, very close to the Bulgarian borders. The first victim that unfortunately was an Egyptian vulture was located the very same day that we received the signal from our colleagues from the Bulgarian Ornithological Society, and the animal was collected in the same afternoon, and the next day was given to a public veterinarian for necropsy and autopsy and collection of samples for toxicological analysis. We think that we have spotted the poison on the dead goat that was the bait, and of course the samples were collected and were sent for toxicological analysis. Just as a recap and speaking about strategies, we think that prevention, education, mitigation, investigation of every incident is very important, but also collaboration, involvement, and final repression of this illegal practice is equally, if not even more important. In some of these topics, a lot of work has been done, but we as Forest Service, we are trying also to develop as much as we can the repression. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dimitris. A very nice presentation, and you have highlighted. Thank you for sharing the insights from the latest poisoning incidents, and thank you for highlighting these important aspects related to the wildlife poisoning issue. I think we are done with the presentations. I hope that, not only I hope, I'm sure that this presentation have provided a lot of information and highlighted the poisoning as a serious threat to wildlife, particularly for vultures. We do see that we have a huge audience. We are about 78 people now. So now is the moment for questions and comments. So please feel free to ask anything related with the poisoning, with the presentations that you have already seen. I saw that you have opportunity to text your questions in the chat, but yeah. Nili?
Don't we have another presentation from the Greek Forestry Service, I think?
No, it was one presentation by me and Panagiotis for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
okay,
this
perfect.
Thank you very
was
much.
a joint presentation.
But Panagiotis is with us, and if there is questions, he could help us and us answer them.
Okay. Well, now if there are some questions, we will be happy to answer them. I don't see any question in the chat, so if you want, you can just ask them.
Yeah, please feel free. Like, this is the exclusive moment when we gather to discuss and to highlight the poisoning issue. It's a serious threat. You saw that there is a lot of entities working on this. on this issue in the Balkan Peninsula. Particularly, you saw that there is lots of effort on Greek side and Bulgarian side. There is a specific anti-poisoning activities. There is some progress. You probably saw from the Uroš presentation that we are witnessing a better engagement from the governmental authorities and better response. A huge effort from Greek side on detection of poisoning incidents. So the reason why we saw that there is so many poisoning incidents recorded in the last 5 years in Greece is thanks to their massive effort in detection, particularly the support by the DOC units and all the authorities from the NECA and the Forestry Service and all the NGOs that have been involved in the last 20 years in fighting wildlife poisoning. So we can discuss on any aspects related to the wildlife poisoning. If you're shy, I can maybe I can go one by one and asking questions about poisoning. But please feel free. It's not very common that we gather so many people and dedicate time to specifically discuss about wildlife poisoning. I see that we have participants from Italy. Maybe you would like to share some insights on the latest huge poisoning incidents with wolves.
Hello, Johan.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Nicola Borgianni from Rewilding Europe. Actually, I have one
Thank
question,
you.
and maybe if it can be interesting for the audience, I can share some of the experience of the last days in the Apennines. So thank you for all the presentation. They were all really very interesting, and it's interesting and very precious to be able to know from your experience and from an area where many projects already involved poisoning and poisoning the contrast to wildlife crime. So I was wondering about the presentation from Uros. And I saw that in the last years, the number of poisoning incidents increased, if I remember correctly, the graph. So do you think that that is mostly because of the effort, the monitoring effort that was increased during the LIFE project, or do you think that also other factors can be involved in this increase? That was very evident from 2023 to 2025, if I remember correctly.
Yes, Nicola, this was a strange effect actually, because the study period that this study is focusing is the last 5 years, 2020, 2025. But we started to work on poisoning a few years before. And in the previous report, we did notice some slight decrease of poisoning incidents. But then it seems like particularly the last 2 years were the years of several poisoning incidents that have been recorded. So it's a short period of time. It's really difficult to manage to have a clear overview on the trend, but not referring to this particular study, referring to all the studies that have been done on poisoning in different European countries. Whenever you start to work with poisoning, the trend is increasing always. More effort invested in detection, more effort invested in investigation, it actually provides more incidents records on the end of the year. So in my knowledge, the only region or territory in Europe that have managed to record real decrease of poisoning incidents is southern Spain, Andalusia. So basically, there you can see the figure increasing when they start to work with poisoning, and 20 years later, you see a serious decrease of 80%. But I'm telling you, we need a larger period of time as a study period, and then we need a tremendous effort in order to witness a decrease of poisoning incidents. Normally, in the first 5 or 10 years, what you see on the figures is increase of poisoning incidents, thanks to the better monitoring and detection.
Yeah, thank you. We have the same experience here in Italy. So we started increasing the monitoring effort, especially thanks to the GPS monitoring installed on the Griffon vultures. We are now following around 70 individuals here. And since 2021, we saw this increase. But I was asking also because in some years, also in the past, before 2021, we had some peaks in some particular areas, probably also because only one carcass is enough to kill many vultures, so it's easy to have these peaks, so these particular trends. Anyway, yeah, what is happening to make it short here in Italy now is that we, as you know, as you mentioned before, it was a big incident involving 21 wolves in the last weeks, and most of them were in the one protected area in the Parco Nazionale d'Abruzzo. So it's not very common that poisoning incidents happen also inside this protected area. Of course, it's not a trend in this case, but it's a particularly bad incidents. And so what we are doing as the Rewilding opponents, we are collaborating with the local authorities and also with our own anti-poison dog unit. And that it's actually helpful because we are collaborating a lot also with the anti-poison dog unit from the Carabinieri Forestali, and it is helping to find more. But as you say, the more you search, more you find, unfortunately. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Nicola, for sharing this information about the recent poisoning incident. I have only, sorry, but very quick question. Are you happy with the response of the governmental authorities, how they're responding to these poisoning incidents, the fast reaction, investigation processes?
So, of course, we are not happy because not many cases are investigated actually, and the cases that were investigated didn't bring to a responsible, let's say, so or to a fee from the government to the single responsible that was found. But we saw also that increasing the effort, especially collaborating more with the authorities, they also become more efficient, especially the Carabinieri Forestali, that is the forestry corp that in Italy it's managing this kind of wildlife crime. So there are results, but of course it's not easy and it's a very long journey probably. So yeah.
No, but good to see that there is some progress, and thanks for highlighting the collaboration. I think that Dimitris also mentioned the collaboration is key in dealing poisoning incidents. Collaboration between different institutions, NGO sector, and collaboration at international level, at regional scale. Thank you very much. I think that we do have some more questions. I saw people raising hand, and we do have some questions in the chat. I think Joanna was raising her hand, but not now.
Yeah, I was raising my hand. Sorry, I was just about to type the question. I had problems with typing in the chat. I was just wondering, I'm an ecology student and like wildlife conservation. And during the presentations, I was wondering if there were a lot of presentations from many projects, and I'm very interested in like the scientific side of those projects. And I was wondering if when it comes to poisoning, is there still a lack of knowledge about poisoning in general from like a scientific perspective, or is the focus in the projects more on engaging stakeholders and like working together with communities to prevent poisoning? Was that clear what I meant?
When we're talking about science, it's a quite wide term. So it can be science in different directions, considering wildlife poisoning. There is a lot of work done on toxicological level. So we have identified over 100 different toxic compounds in Europe in particular. And this is a very creative business. So the pharmaceutical companies keep discovering new kind of pesticides, insecticides, that more and more are difficult to be detected in toxicological analysis. On terms of trends, you see that we are trying to gather the original data or even international data in order to define patterns, most common poison substances use, more important drivers for poison use, and from there to tackle the issue. But definitely in your question, you mentioned the collaboration with the authorities. I think that's the key. That's the conservation measures that we need to implement. I mentioned in the very beginning that this is a crime. This is an illegal act in every European country, and it needs to be treated like that and treated like any other crime. Whenever poisoning incident happens, it needs to be properly investigated by the authorities, because investigating poisoning incident is simply implementation of the national law. It's not something extra that we are requesting from the authorities. This is how it should be. But the biggest problem here is that the proper investigation on poisoning incidents, it's not done in most of the European countries. So therefore, I think that there should be the effort. Did I respond that to your question?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jana. So can someone help me, because I don't see all people that are involved, to see if that there is anybody else raising hands, or we can go through the questions that are listed in the chat.
Leah is raising a hand.
Who is raising hands? Sorry.
Lila.
I am.
Lila. Yes, Lila, please.
Hello to everyone. I wonder if we should give a point. I'm sorry, maybe it's not very well. Point to the borders and to the legal trade of these poisons. I mean that if we give some certain points to the borders to involve to involve and the guide borders to investigate to the illegal trade. I don't know if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, you were quite clear, Lila. I think that you tackled an important aspect.
I ragazzi sono troppo forti.
Can you please silence your microphone if you're not? Okay, thank you. So I don't need to answer all the questions. Is there anyone that would like to make a comment or provide an answer to Lila's question about the illegal trade of poison substances? Because this is a different criminal offense, the illegal trade, and I don't think that we have tackled this aspect of the illegal wildlife poisoning so far, but it's definitely a thing that deserves attention and maybe a concrete actions. Anybody wants to share some comment on it?
May I say something?
Please, yes.
In Greece, you need a prescription in order to get access to these components, to these chemicals. But at the same time, it's quite easy to find them, because if one farmer has a prescription in order to get 5 bottles of this chemical, then it's very easy to share something with his friends. So it's not that easy to find where this chemical will go finally, and it's quite easy for them to also to find them from countries. Some of these chemicals are forbidden in Greece for many years, but in other countries are not forbidden yet, at least. So they can find them from abroad. It's not easy to stop it. Of course, I totally agree with Lila, but it's not easy to stop it, unfortunately. I'd also like to say that, as we have already said, the more you search, the more you find this is true. But I would like also to tell you that the population of the wolves has increased in the recent years, in the last years, and this is a strong motivation for the perpetrators to put the poison baits in order to protect their hunting dogs or in order to protect their stock, their animals. I do not want to blame the hunters as a whole. I do not want to blame the stock breeders as a whole. But if we use our common sense, then we'll conclude that in order to do something, you need a motive. And the motive is to kill the wolves mostly. So the increasing of the population of the wolves increases the motive to spread the poisoned baits. The hunters, some of the hunters are the problem. Some of the stock breeders are the problem. But the hunters and the stock breeders as a whole are the solution. And that's what we have to focus on.
Yeah, Thank you very much, Panayotis, for this final statement. And I do agree with you. You know, we cannot imagine environment without poisoning and without livestock breeding and hunting. So basically, I think that we need to strive to a direction where these conflicts provoked by wildlife are managed in a different way, or governmental authorities actually provide a suitable and friendly solution to the livestock breeders and the hunters. The solution cannot be committing a criminal act or poisoning. Therefore, yeah, I agree with you. And just wanted to go back to the Lila's issue on the illegal trade. I have to highlight that particularly in the last 3 or 5 years, the illegal trade of poisoning substances is becoming even more crucial in Europe, because nowadays, from every European countries, you can order any kind of banned poison substance through internet, and all the packages coming from AliExpress, they are not checked. So there is no custom border control on the poisoning substances that are imported. I'm talking about small quantities, yeah, but the accessibility to these compounds, it's very easy, and everybody can have them in any place of Europe and can be delivered in 1 week in your house. So that's an issue. And definitely, Lila, I agree with you that this is something that we need to pay more attention and try to implement some concrete actions. Of course, together with the custom authorities.
We could have anti-poison dogs at the borders. They can smell them.
Yes, why not? Yeah, I think it's a good solution. We have great examples from Greece that dogs are impressive in detecting poison substances. So why not to have them on the custom police on the borders? We do have them for drugs and weapons. So, okay, I do have some hands raised. Sorry, but I do not have any order. So maybe I can start with the people that have raised hands that are first on my screen. Stoicho, I see you're raising hands.
I have a provocative question, not
Please.
to open a big discussion, but like a food for thought. Wolf population is increasing a lot, and in many countries it is protected species. Isn't it time to think about lowering the protected status of that species in order to reduce the conflicts?
This is almost a religious question. So it's very difficult to come to a conclusion. But whenever you talk about management of wildlife population, then you have, two opposite sides. One of them is always, against it. And I think that this kind of way of thinking is becoming more popular in Europe. But honestly, my belief is that we need to evaluate, and we need a proper research and investigation, and come to a decision where managing population, it might be the way to go. Because in many places in the world, wildlife is managed. When I say managed, this means reduced when it's needed and when it conflicts with human activities. But the ethical line here is what is causing problem to take this kind of decision. But yeah, discussion open if anybody wants to comment on this. I do see Panos is raising hands, Dimitros and Dora. Is it related with the issue that Stoicho raised?
Yes, I would like to say something in relation to what Stoicho says. For me, the management of protected areas, in the management of the protected areas and the protected species is very important to set priorities. For example, in Dadia National Park, the great value for protection is the biodiversity of vultures and raptors. We should always have this in our mind. So when we are speaking about management and we cannot hierarchize our priorities, it's difficult for us to reach conclusions.
Yes. Thank you, Dimitris. Dora, you wanted to add something on this topic?
Yes. I would like to refer something that can you hear me? Can you hear me well?
Yes, perfect.
Yes.
Right. I would like to add something that I'm saying in the schools this spring that we have an environmental.
Now, Yes,
project.
but there were some cuts, at least on my side.
Okay, I would like to refer something that we are discussing with the students in the schools that we have an educational activity this spring. We have to realize that after the livestock breeding a huge decrease in the nature, we have the changes in the populations of several animals like wolves, wild boars, deers, etc. This is, let's say, the goal, a general goal of the rewilding, I suppose. But it happened because the livestock, let's say, has been decreased very much. So there is a replace. The goats and the guarding dogs left, and the people and the farmers, and now we have the wildlife. We want the wildlife because it's one of the main goals of Rewilding Europe, Rewilding Balkans, Rewilding forest.
Yeah.
We have to know what we want finally. If we want to rewild, we cannot, after some years, manage the wild animals. We have to accept and to see in the future if we are going to fight to bring back livestock in the nature. If this solution is zero anymore, then to manage the population in Dadia, we have vultures to protect. So let's hunt wolves because it's the problem. In Abruzzo, we have wolves to protect. So we don't kill wolves there. I mean, it's a management very complicated. The abundance of the countryside is the main problem. We have to do something with that. Otherwise, we have to accept that the nature is wild anymore because we left it alone. We left the nature. We went to the cities. And it's not very nice after all this evolution, social and economic, to say now it's time to manage, to kill the animals that disturb us, provoke damage, and so on. We have to go on with several steps before we decide this. Several steps towards to ecology, to nature protection, and so on. It's not an easy decision. Now we lose vultures. Let's kill wolves. Because wolves always, there were the animals that, let's say, πώς είναι ρυθμίζω στα αγγλικά, regulated all the other fauna species. They are the great predators. We don't decide so easily to kill them. We have first to decide what to do with the social and economic evolution of the countryside. Thank you very much.
Nobody said to kill them. We were talking about managing the population. If this incorporates killing some of the animals, it's totally different than killing the wolves. Maybe we should think it.
But you know, I agree with Dora, because this is a complex issue. This is not about ecological issue. This is a political and socio-economic issue. And Dora, I agree with you. We should not imagine the environment without people and without human activities. That should not be the tendency. You know, the magic is in the balance. The balance that centuries ago was established. And the problem is that we lost some wildlife, but we also lost probably some knowledge with it.
Jovan, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Do we manage vultures? What we are doing? Do we manage vultures?
It's you know, whenever we talk about management, I said it's a very difficult topic to be discussed.
The answer is we are managing vultures. Yes, this is what we do.
With the feeding sites, we are managing vultures. And
with reintroduction?
No, reintroduction is a conservation activity that serves to connect populations that have been isolated for a long period of time. And on natural way, we'll need to wait centuries and perfect conditions so they get connected. So we are speeding up processes that in natural way could happen in some long period of time. But vulture management as well, it's also an issue. You are all aware about all the incidents that were with the griffon vulture some years ago with the attacks to livestock. That this was an issue in France and Spain. Apparently, it was a bit exaggerated, but it was also happening. So we had proof for that. And then we have seen, at least in Spain, there are several places where griffon vultures are occupying and interfering with cinereous vultures, occupying nests of cinereous vultures. So that's an issue, depending from which point of view you are analyzing things. But yeah, like Spain has a population of over 30,000 pairs of griffon vultures. So in some places, populations might be too dense. But if they are dense, that's probably relies with the human interaction, with the food available for vultures.
Jovan, I'm really sorry to interrupt. Just because we are running out of time, I wanted to at least try to answer a couple of questions in the chat below. Generally, there are two questions, one from Bulgaria and Greek side that are overlapping. Are there any perpetrators that have been punished for their poisoning? I think it would be nice to try to answer this question either on Bulgarian or Greek side, and maybe with that question we can close the webinar because we are really behind schedule.
If people are willing, maybe we can stay for 5 minutes because I see that Panos and Rigas are raising their hand for a long period. So maybe
okay, yeah, sure. Okay, let's do that.
So anybody from Greece and Bulgaria would like to make a short comment on the question in the chat about maybe Sylvia or Dobry can.
Dobry unfortunately had to leave, but if Stoicho is still here, maybe he can pick up that question.
Yeah, unfortunately, in Bulgaria, there is no case of someone that poisoned and was caught and punished. At least I don't know. However, this is something relatively new for the enforcement authority in Bulgaria. In the communist time, the system was completely different. In this type of state, there was no many crimes. And now, in the last 10, 15 years, it is probably increasing. NGOs are pushing, and I hope there will be case, but until now, I don't know such.
Okay. Thank you, Stoicho, but thanks also for highlighting that things have improved. Authorities are more responsive. We just need a real engagement to bring these cases to the court and actually have a sentence.
Definitely, we see over the several cases in the last 5 years how in the beginning they just don't care, they were not interested, and now in the last case we saw a really proper investigation, like humans were involved with all the proper things the police should do.
Brilliant. Some comment from Greece?
Just I want to say what I know. Just to my knowledge, there is not any conviction in Greece, but there is cases that, the law enforcement entities sue against the unknown person.
Okay.
So
I know that there was some penalties, but administrative penalties for poisoning recently.
Yes,
maybe
some cases have been taken to the court, but the penalties were very low.
Yeah.
And there was never a case of bringing a perpetrator to the court to justice because of wildlife poisoning. I think there was one man in Rhodos Island. He placed a poison bait and he was caught, and the fine was like 300 euros only. So this is to my knowledge about Greece. But yes, I agree also with Stoicho that law enforcement agencies, they respond much better than some years ago when I started working with the dogs. So I believe that now in the field, in Greece, in the field, when we operate there, we collaborate, all of us, all stakeholders, all agencies, all relevant authorities. So I think this stage of investigation, of poison incident investigation, we reach to very good level. But then the proper investigation and the prosecution, let's say, there need to be put an effort, a big effort.
Yeah, thank you, Ella, very much. I can only share that a few years ago there was the first sentence from Cyprus on poisoning of Bonelli seagull. It was no sentence because there was a pre-trial agreement, but the penalty that was decided was on 20,000 euros, so which was quite significant. Okay, let's give a word to Panos. Sorry, Panos, thank you for having you here. And I know that you have raised your hand some time ago. So please share your comment or question with us.
Yeah, hi, thank you very much. I would like to thank all authors for the excellent presentation and the vivid discussion as well. I'll try to contribute to a couple of things, let's say, if I may, since I'm following the poisoning things, at least in Greece, since early 2000s. And the basic problem, to my opinion, first of all, is regarding the enforcement and the law enforcement, let's say, or the punishment of the perpetrators is the point that we lack toxicology labs. So in the past, we used to have around 7 toxicology labs. Now it's only 1. And I think Yuli is here so she can clear up the situation, how difficult it would be. That means it takes a long time. And second is that regarding the socio-political laws, I mean, the penalties are there, but for sure the law has to change so that we have more stricter penalties. And then it's I don't know if it is the law enforcement entities like, for example, the forestry department or the police or whoever else to push an event forward. And I totally agree with Ella that there were significant steps with the help of the VCF and the LIFE projects overall in Greece for the common, let's say, for the forestry and veterinary authorities to get more involved. Still, we have a big gap to cover regarding public veterinary authorities that they were asked to perform a necropsy on a vulture, and we have procedures there that will need to be clarified to ease up the procedure until they reach to the toxicology lab. And also, I would like to stress that it's not just a necropsy, but a necropsy should be done by a person that is knowledgeable, because it's not just like opening the carcass, taking the intestines, and you have done it very well. We have these discussions a long time ago, Jovan. You as a vet understand, and we had this seminar in 2001 in Sofia, where a necropsy, a full necropsy by a veterinarian, by an avian veterinarian or avian pathologist, is really giving more data on why a bird died. And it was a very nice, good study that was in Italy recently in Bird Conservation International, where I think they did the analysis of griffon vultures, morbidity and mortality, and then they had a very full screening, necropsies, toxicology, microbiology, virology, and so on. And that was one of the best studies that I have seen in mortality and morbidity. Otherwise, everything else is a little bit biased. Yes, of course, the high suspicion is always wind farms or electrocution or poisoning, but there is a lot more. That's another point. So please, if I need to stress something from my side, try to involve more the public veterinary authorities, try to support a little bit more the toxicology lab. And I know that the VCF is doing that. I mean, also from my Greek colleagues as well, that they are running the LIFE project, that they are participating or designing the LIFE projects. Please include that in their already, let's say, budget, or in the necessity if we want to have legal cases finished. So the second point is regarding prevention. And I have heard Dimitris Vasilakis doing 250 preventative patrols. I'm not aware if other dog units in Greece they are doing it and what is the effect of that. Because to my knowledge, depending on the dog, depending on the dog's ability, uh, sometimes the dog get to desensitivize. So let's say it loses part of their skills. Let's say if they're not finding, they get frustrated. Let's say in the behavioral language, they get frustrated. So I was wondering. I mean, yes, it is prevention. It is a prevention to that. For even by the local, stakeholders like the hunting or the stock breeders or other people that they are in the nature and they're possibly thinking putting out a poison bait, the patrols is really a prevention measure. And I would say that NECA and forestry departments should do it more and more often. I'm just would like to know if there was in these 250, and not only by Dimitris, but also in other dog poison units in Greece, there were findings in these poison baits. That's a question, but it's also again, how do you say it? A hooray or a strong recommendation that these poison prevention patrols should happen more and more often, and these are really prevention. For me, finding a vulture that is already dead and has a GPS, yes, of course, it prevents from other vultures, but already the event has happened. And I totally agree with what Ella said, that dog poison units are very, very useful. They're changing some things, but it's not the sole solution to the problem. And VCF is doing a very good job interconnecting everyone, authorities, people, and NGOs. And it's not against that, but it's just that to have a full picture. And my last comment, because I know I talk a lot and I have a lot to say, the thing is regarding managing population, managing vulture population, or managing wolf population. I totally agree with Dora on the point that the major problem is the land abandonment. We have a severe reduction right now, and again, I will talk as a veterinarian. Our livestock production is really devastated by foot and mouth disease, by other epidemics, and in the past, working for legalization of the feeding sites, we had to tackle these problems. Right now, the stock breeders are really at the edge because we don't have production. This, of course, is not a problem that VCF or all the environmental NGOs can solve it. Of course, it's beyond our things. It's political. It is much more than that.
We
But
will forget the question, Panagiotis.
I'm sorry?
We will forget the question.
It's okay. You can take
Let
notes.
us answer.
Yeah, just give me. I heard you enough, all of you, and I was very polite, Dimitri. So just take a
Okay,
note on
sorry,
the question.
I didn't want to be unpolite.
And no, it's fine. And I had another question as well, but it's okay. I think most important is we have a discussion, and and the one thing is in Mediterranean, as Jovan said, and I'm sure Rigas wanted to stress that fact as well. And all of you working in in Balkans, we know that the Mediterranean and the environment and the wildlife was shaped through the contact interaction between human activities and wildlife, and that's why wildlife was scared, was in the corners. And of course, we are happy that all the species they show an increase in the population, all or almost all. And then regarding managing the vultures, this is another question similar to what Stoic already asked. Do we see a future in vultures outside feeding sites and protected areas? Because as I see livestock keeping, and we don't have anymore that much transhumans in as in the past, at least talking for Greece, and we have so much intensification. A lot of livestock breeders they abandon their profession because they don't have motives to work, because anyhow for multiple reasons. Just imagine that livestock keeping is again a different puzzle. If you consider vulture conservation a puzzle of a lot of activities and parameters, livestock keeping is another thing, and it's going really down. So this is the other question, philosophical, rhetorical, take it as you want. But apart from Crete and areas that there is not much population of livestock, I think vultures are condemned to live in very, very secluded area. And that comes to what Dimitri said, that maybe in these areas, yes, maybe we need to think of managing population of wolves or predators or whatever. And I'm not saying, yeah, I will not hide behind my finger like Stoicho said or like Jovan said as well. In many European countries, they do. Also in France, they do culling of wolves. Of course, they take other measures as well. It's not just culling wolves, culling number. They have all the other measures, and then of course, but we don't wait. But in my opinion, and I close with that if we wait too long, and again, it's a political decision, a social decision, the wolves are already around the cities. And I totally again agree with Dora that yes, we want rewilding, but we need to see, because if we continue and we leave all the carnivores in their current state, I'm afraid that in a couple of decades, or maybe 1 decade or 2 decades, we will not have vultures. I'm sorry that I'm so frustrated and so
Don't be, Panos. This was a great contribution. Thank you for that. You mentioned several aspects, and you basically gave us idea for at least 2 different webinars that we need to implement. But amazing comments, amazing contribution. Thank you so much. Pity that we don't have time to go into deeper discussion about all subjects that you mentioned. I'll give the word for a quick response to Dimitris, and then we move to Rigas, and we need to close.
Okay, just to say that these 250 preventive patrols were done in the framework of this LIFE project. There is, at least from the Dimotricho Forestry Service, 250 more than other regions. So we are trying to be out in the field every day for many very different reasons, especially with these 250 patrols, speaking with the people. Some dozens of them, as I mentioned, were done with the canine teams. There were not findings. But the patrols with the canine teams were made in places that we have information or cases in the past. Or we had wolf attacks on hunting dogs just to investigate, to show our present, to speak with the people, to understand that we are there and we are investigating the incidents.
Thank you very much, Dimitris, for the clarification. I move to Rigas. Rigas, please keep it quick if you can, because we are short with time.
Hello, everybody. Do you hear me? Okay. 2 quick points only. The one is the very critical involvement of public authorities or veterinarians. This is the main problem in our area in Western Greece. Either the public authorities or the private sector, the investigation and all the procedure after the Forestry Service and the involvement of NECA, etc., the response to the incidents is very late. So all the procedure cannot be concluded in time, and therefore the prosecutors is not easy to go on. And the second, which is I think more important, is that the poison baits are the tip of, let's say, of the iceberg. So the important thing is that we have to have in mind that agroforestry landscapes are the main issue. The rural areas are abandoned. The population of rural areas in Greece, especially, is very rapid, and this leads, of course, to all these conflicts. I will send you a book that we wrote in the chat room about the important thing of reviving agriculture, these agroforestry landscapes. And this should be also, I think, a main point for the restoration of the vultures areas. And in contrast, let's say, to the rewilding initiative, which I think will mislead the main point, because the cultural landscapes are those that have for millennia followed by vultures in European landscapes. So we have to think very important, and this is a topic also of the stock breeders, etc., that they should be supported somehow, and NGOs should go on this direction and not in the rewilding direction, which for Greece, for example, should be like to bring back the lion and the leopard. And I don't know if we afford these animals in the landscape that have been recently extinct. Thank you very much.
Rigas, thank you very much for the interesting comment and a great contribution. So basically, I think that we are 20 minutes late. Nelly, sorry for that, but I think that this amazing and constructive discussion worth it to delay a bit the timing of the webinar. I would like to thank you, everyone, Nelly particularly, for organizing and setting things down, all the partners of the LIFE projects, of course, for the great contribution. And I would like to thank all the participants. We are 66 now. And I have a kind request to everyone. Please, during the next weekend, try to find 3 people in your surrounding and let them and inform them about the severity of poisoning and the use of poison substances. With that, I think that we can contribute all to the awareness on, on the severity and how serious this problem is in the environment. So Nelly, is there anything that I'm forgetting? Please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I just want to mention that we will have everything recorded because there was plenty of information. If somebody wants to go back to some specific data or information, please do so. The video will be available on Rewilding Rhodopes communications channels. So please follow us and yeah. More information. Thanks for participating as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice afternoon. Bye.
Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Ciao.
Bye.